strong.
Chapter 251, Mochizuki. It has been less than a month since the end of the year, and in the eastern desert, many people have already left for Choge City. At the end of this year, Donghang will be the most festive in Choge City. No one doubts this, because all the top forces in the Donghang realm will gather in the Choge New Year. The top forces have not left, but they are also making some preparations. The eastern waste in the northern region, Wang Wezong. This sect is the ancestor of the first female in the East China Sea, the Mochizuki sect, and has the most suitable method for women to practice. Currently, Mochizuki is hosting a grand event. In the Mizuki sect, at the end of each year, a grand event was held to test the practices of the younger disciples, and at the same time, select virgins. The Wangu sect girl is not immortal, but can be replaced every year. Therefore, even if he becomes a saint, he will always be vigilant and need extra effort to practice, otherwise he will be mobbed and take the glory of the saint. Even if it is a female gate, it still maintains a strong competition. Moreover, in the eastern desert, Wang Wezong is a very famous place for being a beautiful woman. Practicing and absorbing the spirit of heaven and earth, some of Wang Wezong's training methods can enhance a woman's face and make her more beautiful. Wangzong sect, fairy swaying, like a fairyland on earth. At this time on the moon watching platform, there is a beautiful woman around, like a cloud. In the stands around the moon platform, in addition to all the beautiful women, there is also a group of men. Moreover, they are sitting in a relatively central position, beside Virgin Chu, there is a young man sitting there. This person, he ran as the Qin dynasty son Qin dynasty, Qin Li. Now is the final round of this trial. Controversy. With the girl's performance, nothing can shake the girl's position. Qin Wang son Qin Li said with a smile at Chu. Chu Yan smiled with a smile on his face. That beautiful face still conveys the meaning of touching Chu Chu, which makes people feel pity and tenderness. Every year there are several outstanding disciples in the Wangu sect. This year is no exception. Before the last moment, no one knew who belonged to the virgin, Chu Kun replied. Qin Li whispered softly, so talented, so amazing, and so humble, virgins are the most attractive women I have ever seen. Wang Sun's good reputation is embarrassed, Chu said softly. Why bother seeing each other so far, they are already friends, it would be good to call my name Qin Li directly. Qin Wang son Qin Li looked at Chu Yan Mi's eyes also looked at him, as if feeling the Qin Li heat in her eyes slightly avoided her beautiful eyes, but her face did not change much. You know the purpose of my visit to Wezong, and next year I will also train at the East Qin Academy. If I have the opportunity, I hope to train with you and to chat and discuss martial arts. I have no regrets in this life. Lo, with a meek feeling, everyone around me is watching the platform. No one listened to what they had to say, even if someone around noticed that they weren't thinking too much. Qin Wang son Qin Li stepped into the moon sect, and initially expressed some thoughts, namely, the virgin Chu Chu who wants to pursue the moon sect. Many people know this. However, Wang Wezong's elders needed to consider. The Qin and Donghazong dynasties married, and the two top armies in the East Wasteland joined forces, and the East Qin Academy was founded. The goal was clear, pointing straight at the academy. Today, Qin Wang and son Qin went to visit Wezong, and they wanted to join hands with Wang Wezong through marriage. However, if Qin King City and Donghazong really came true, in the future, if he came to the east, he would be in a position where Wang Wezong should be seriously considered. At this time, an exclamation came from the crowd, and countless eyes fell on the battlefield. There is a stunning figure. She wore a singly long dress, like a fairy in the sky, released a breath, raised her palm, and stopped her opponent's figure, easily overpowering each other. Sister surrendered. The woman stood on the moon watching foot and smiled, and the beautiful woman in front of her sighed. Sister's ability to control thoughts is getting stronger and stronger, it is difficult to resist. In a few years, I am afraid there is a chance to take the position of a virgin. Qin Li and Chu Yan who were chatting raised their heads and saw Sing Ye's figure on the platform. That elf-like woman seems to be a fairy who came to earth. Although Chu Ye is known as the three beauties in the eastern wasteland with good reputation, but he does not dare to say that his face is superior to the woman on the platform. Hua Jiyu. Qin Li also saw the figure and secretly said in his heart that the main army from the eastern region went to Kangye. Ye Fusion not only entered the hut, but his girlfriend Hayuyu was said to have entered the Wezong sect. It was the woman in front of him, shocking and popular. Hua Jeyu stood there. She changed her temperament slightly and became even more outstanding when she trained in Wangu sect for almost a year. She is very beautiful now, and now she has added a bit of female tenderness. For the beauty rankings, I am afraid that they can overtake the three beauties in the Eastern Wasteland. Sister Chu is much better than me. Hua Jeyu whispered softly. The woman said nothing, and left the platform with curved hands. Hua Jeyu fell slightly towards the Shimin elders and walked on. Siyu is indeed a phoenix among people, and his achievements will be limitless in the future, an elder praised. Well, you have to work hard, otherwise in a few years, I am afraid that it will be completely surpassed by your teacher and sister. With a smile, Siyu, she has this talent. It is a good thing, even if it exceeds me, it proves that Wangzong is getting stronger and stronger. Right. The woman smiled and nodded. Chu Yunmei's eyes stared at the beautiful figure walking on the platform. Last year, Mochizuki was unable to threaten her virginity. But now, he also had to admit that Wajayu already had such qualifications. Not only was her talent inferior to hers, but even her appearance, as one of the three beauties in Donghang, could not beat her. If one day Hua Sheyu surpassed him, it would also represent Wang Wezong walking in Donghang. Moreover, the man that Hua Sheyu liked, in the hut, was now famous in the Eastern Wasteland. He even saw him in the Qin dynasty, and he was young and frivolous. Even Qian Shenmu and Qin Mengruo didn't pay attention to him. Prince Donghazong was abandoned by the hut because he wanted to bully him and the rest of his life. After a while, Chu Chu's turn to play, and he revealed his strong spiritual talent as a sage, crushed his opponents, and is still the most noble generation. Many people have a vague feeling, Wajayu and Chu Yan, there will be a real confrontation between the two peerless beauties, a virgin confrontation. Wang Wezong's party has ended, and Chu Yi is still a Wang Wezong girl with an extraordinary appearance. Nothing has shaken her status. After the announcement, King Li stepped forward and arched towards the Wangu elders. East Qin Academy will be holding an opening ceremony. King Li specially came to Wangu to invite him again. I hope the Wangu fairies will be able to join us. King Wangsun is polite. I invited him last time. Even if King Wangsun doesn't come, we will go there. A beautiful woman said, but since King Wangsun has personally arrived, my disciples from Wangzong will follow. Thank you, seniors. King Ligong laughed, not forgetting to glance at Chu Shi. This scene did not hide from everyone, as if on purpose. Who wants you to go? The beautiful woman looked at Wang Wezong's many disciples, and many of them stepped forward and said, the disciples are leaving. In this grand event, the East Wasteland will boil and gather in Choge City. Who doesn't want to go and watch this great age? You are trying to make my Wezong unsuccessful at the same time. The beautiful woman smiled and said, well, French student, you have come to choose someone you want to go with. Okay. Chu Yan smiled and nodded, then selected several talented people to travel with higher talents. Hua Jeyu was also in the crowd, but Chu Yan did not choose her. He stepped gently and stepped forward and said quietly, brother, I want to go to Choge City. Chu Yunmei's eyes turned and fell on Hua Jeyu's body, and he smiled and said, Sister Mei, you are very talented, but you are still low in cultivation. You must train harder, and you must not delay this time. In the future ahead, I am still waiting for sister to challenge the position of the virgin. Siyu has no intention of competing with his sister for the virgin position, but this time, he hopes that he can agree, Hua Jeyu said. There was a strange color flickering in Chu Yunmei's eyes. What does it mean to run against his will now? Brother, you have just come to Wangzong to train. This practice is the most important thing for you, and you must not be distracted. Chu Yan's voice was still gentle. Don't understand why Chu Yan didn't let him go. However, he had not seen the man for almost a year. Dong Hazong challenged the hut, Jiu Dongyu, and Ye Fusion had to go to Choge City. And he's going to New Year's in Choge City. Of course, he will go, and Ye Fusion will definitely know his thoughts and will think of meeting him in Choge. Thinking of this, Hua Jeyu turned around and walked towards Wang Wezong's elders. He said, the disciples want to go to Choge City. This scene made all the disciples around the Wangu sect have a strange look. Even the elders had a different kind of light flashing in their eyes. Not long ago, whether it was Chu Yun or Hua Jeyu, his words were very precise and simple. However, in the blink of an eye, there was disagreement over such a trivial matter, and the two seemed to be very attached to their own ideas. It's hard not to think of such a scene. As a saint, Chu Yi naturally qualified because the elders asked him to choose someone. However, it is reasonable to say that Chu Yi has complied with his request, but Chu Yi refused twice. So, Hua Sheyu bypassed it and greeted the elders directly. Chapter 252, Leaving. Elder Wang Wezong was silent for a while. Chu Yu and Hua Siyu were rare geniuses in Wang Yuzong. Chu Zun was a saint, whereas Hua Siyu was someone who had the opportunity to challenge his position in the future. There is a difference between the two in such trivial matters, but it is impossible to say who is right and who is wrong, perhaps on their own grounds. But no matter who is liked, I am afraid that it will make other people feel uncomfortable. Keenly watched the scene beside Chu Yan, his eyes fell on Hua Jiu, and he whispered softly, well, otherwise, please let your teacher and brother avoid the trouble of the seniors. In his words, the many Wangu sect disciples all looked at keenly. This sentence seemed to speak for Hua Jiu, but it sounded so easy to make people think, as if Hua Jiu didn't follow the rules. Elder Wang Wezong did not do well, so Chu Yi took a step back. What is Shimei thinking? A beautiful woman asked, looking like the woman beside her. The woman in question was the master of Waji. Master Wajiu fell on Wajiu and laughed. Jiu, your brother is right. Now practice is the most important thing for you. I am also thinking about you. This time, you will not go. Hua Jiu looked at his master, who was very kind to him. So he naturally had his own reasons. He was a little lost in his heart, but still nodded slowly, said, okay. After hearing Wajiu's words, the atmosphere was better. Chu Shi smiled and said, I let sister stay, but I only hope that sister can practice well, but I don't really care about sister's thoughts, and I hope that sister forgives me. That's wrong. It doesn't matter. Hua Jiu shook her head, and then she walked towards a woman next to master and shouted softly, sister. Come. The woman nodded. When you came to Choge City, if Ye Fusion came to me, you told him that I was very good at Zongman, and my practice had improved greatly. I didn't go at this time to train well, so he didn't worry about me. Said with a smile, the sister gently nodded and smiled, okay, do you want to bring other words? Hua Jiu's eyes flashed, and then shame appeared on her face, and she lowered her voice, saying, and tell her, remember that someone will always be waiting for her, and don't do bad things. The woman's beautiful eyes flickered and she looked at Hua Jiu with a smile, but she was a bit ambiguous. Hua Jiu blushed slightly, and was so beautiful that she made women jealous. Brother-in-law is sure, I must have brought the original words, without missing a word. The woman said with a smile. Hua Jiu nodded shyly, I'll go practice. Then he turned and left. This girl. Master Wajiu smiled and shook his head. Teacher, it seems that Shimei is very affectionate. Why don't you let Shimei go? The woman whispered. Give him a little motivation to practice, said Master Hua Jiu, the woman next to him thoughtfully, and then glanced at Chu Yun's side, vaguely understanding the meaning of master. Shimei's temperament is very light. Despite his spiritual efforts, he did not strive for anything. It seems that he is truly immortal, he wants nothing. Even the holy position, he doesn't seem interested. Such a temperament is naturally very attractive. People love it, but sometimes it's not bad to fight. What's more, he did not does anyone not know? Ellipsis. The Eastern Waste, all areas, whether it is top-level troops, or many first-class troops, have already started to leave for Choge City. The Eastern Wasteland has not had a big situation for a long time, whether it is the opening of the East Qin Academy or the marriage of the Qin dynasty in Donghazong. It is a big event, not to mention, there are two very talented East Wasteland geniuses who will be in the Zhao dynasty. The Battle of Songcheng is so prosperous, how can you miss it? On top of Shushan, Shuyun also chose a candidate for Choge. The opening of the East Qin Academy and Lu Nanshan's challenge to Jiu Dongyu all led to the academy. People from other forces may pay less attention to him, but he should pay more attention to him than the other powers. From the strong in Wang Hojing to the juniors in France, this academy sent many outstanding Tianzhou figures. In the hut, the brothers of various teachers gathered together. Just now, the academy had sent someone to urge the lodge to depart. This time the academy and thatched huts were integrated. Facing the Qin dynasty and Donghazong, of course there is no difference anymore. Actually, the academy wanted to leave a few days ago, but the lodge didn't seem to be in a hurry. The academy had no choice but to urge him again and again. Who wants to go this time? Jiu Sunliu, the third brother, asked everyone. My brother's last trip to the Qin dynasty has not been pleasant. This time, we must sweep away the prestige of the East Qin Academy. Let my brother and I go together. Zhu Ye said. Brother, I think the brothers and sisters also want to go, won't they go together? Luo Fan also spoke, and looked at Yi Shaoxi also glaring, looking at him as if looking forward to it. Ye Fusion saw the scene and sighed, everything was broken on the mountain. He didn't want to go down, how good it was. The second and sixth sisters are gentle and kind. However, thinking that Siyu might go to Choge, this time he still has to go down the hill, not to mention, the three brothers and that Nan Nat Zonglu Nanshan is fighting, of course he has to go and see. I don't want to live in the mountains so much. The second teacher sister Juj Hui looked at the people with a smile and smiled. Their heads suddenly shrank, Zuye lifted his chest up straight, and said righteously, Dong Hazong doesn't dare to control himself. Challenge our three big brothers, and of course we'll have to see for ourselves how he fails. If we miss such a battle, won't we regret it for the rest of our lives? Yes, I can't go to the battle of the three brothers. Although we also want to stay on the mountain, we want to witness the great power of the three brothers, Luo Fan echoed. Shameless. Ye Fusion cursed inwardly, embarrassed to be associated with these people. He looked at the two brothers with disdain, and then said, 4 brothers and 5 brothers are right. The 3 brothers in the last battle were extraordinary. However, his intentions were still not exhausted. This time, Choge City had to personally go to watch the battle to cheer up the 3 brothers and witness the style of the brothers. Jiu Dongyu looked at a few people and nodded his head slightly. What you say makes sense. If so, go together. Thank you, Maester. Several people were all excited. Yi Shaoxi was so touched that he almost shed tears, and finally he was able to get down. Would you like to go with Exinger? Jiu Dongyu asked Ju Hui, looking at him. You're going crazy, Exinger and I live in a thatched hut. The second teacher Ju Hui said quietly, then turned around, and Biatang Exinger's beautiful eyes looked at Jiu Dongyu with a smile. 3 brothers, Exinger is also very I want to see your quarrel with Lu Nanshan, but Sister Ershi did not leave. Exinger must accompany Sister Shi. Well, accompany your sister. Jiu Dongyu nodded. Biatang Exinger was originally raised by Ju Hui. The teacher was so lazy that when he brought the man back to the hut, he became a shopkeeper. Therefore, Ju Hui and Biatang Exinger had a very good relationship. Even though she was a sister, Ju Hui was more like elder Biatang Xing. Exinger is waiting for the good news from the 3 brothers. Biatang Exinger smiled lightly. Jiu Dongyu nodded and said to Yi Shaoxi, notify the academy and prepare them, then depart. Okay. Yi Shaoxi turned and ran. Don't get too excited. After a while, the academy, the square on the steps of Mount Shushan, had gathered a lot of people at this time, and the academy was ready. At this time, Jiu Dongyu and others walked in the void and walked to the side. Looking at the row of thatched huts, Jiu Dongyu, Zhu Ye, Luo Fan, Yi Shaoxi, Ye Fusion, and the rest of his life. Now there are 8 people on Kotang Mountain, and 6 people have left. This is probably the first time that Kotang has so many disciples descending the mountain at the same time. The lineup of the academy is also very strong, thousands of academy disciples. This time, there are hundreds of people who go to the square, and in addition to a few elders, they are also among the most evil in all fields. Ye Fusion didn't know many people, but in the Fa Xiang realm, he had seen quite a few people, including Xiao Wuji, Tang Ye, Su Muge, Tuba Yun, Nangong Zhao, and Caution. The people in the academy also looked at the students in the hut, and the lineup this time was very strong. They were 2 mountain heads, Zongzu and Zhuking, 1 male and 1 female. In addition to the teacher, there is also the first academy of the academy, Bailey Shu, the top demon figure in the academy, who is very strong and is not inferior to the mountain leader. His status in the academy is comparable to that of Jiu Dongyu in the hut. A strong formation shows that the academy attaches great importance to this path. Jiu Dongyu and disciple Kotang have met 2 mountain heads. Jiu Dongyu faced Zongzu and Zhuking saluted in front of him. Even though he was very proud, it didn't mean that he didn't respect the amount of politeness. Shan Chang and his teacher were peers. As a junior, when he saw him, he naturally had to salute. After seeing the respects of the 3 seniors, the other lodge disciples also saluted. You're welcome, Jiu Dongyu, can you rest assured on this trip? Zhu Kang's eyes fell on Jiu Dongyu. This battle was very important to the academy. I haven't seen Lu Nanshan yet. Jiu Dongyu responded. Zhuking nodded, and didn't ask anymore. No one saw him, saying that he was confident. Although he was confident, he was naturally arrogant. Even the strength of the other party is unclear. It would be too early to say hold on. Let's go, Zongzu said in a loud voice, and suddenly the group set off and departed. At Shushan's feet, when the crowd saw a group of strong people flying above Shushan, they couldn't help but shake their hearts. This time in the academy, the formation that was sent was terrible. Chapter 253, Tit for Tat. Choge City was the capital of the former dynasty. However, after Qin Wangcheng ruled the eastern region, the former dynasty was conquered. This former eastern region city had lost its former glory. Nevertheless, the ancient and majestic Choge city was still one of the top 10 cities in the eastern wasteland and was extremely prosperous. In Choge city, there are many tyrannical forces. Among them, the Yin family in the previous dynasty was the most numerous. The Yin family is a former royal family. Later, they surrendered to the Qin dynasty and were always very humble. In addition, this ancient city of Choge has many ancient ruins. The footprints left by his predecessors in Choge have been unearthed for thousands of years. Choge city was located in the middle of the eastern wasteland and was at the center of power of the Qin and Donghazong dynasties, still under the jurisdiction of the Qin dynasty. The two armies joined forces to establish Dongkan Academy in Choge city, which was a very suitable choice. Today, in this ancient city, strong people enter the city at any time, and even the princely figures look at will. Choge city had not been as lively for many years. At this time, outside the city of Choge, there is a constant coming from the air of the powerful empire, or descending on the demon. Among the crowd, above the void, a huge figure arrived. In the air, the people around them turned their eyes and saw a huge figure that was coming. Someone exclaimed, "The academy is here." The academy, like other troops, had also come to Choge city before. They looked at the academies, and then saw Zongzu, Zhu King, Baili Shu, and Jiu Dongyu. The temperament of some people are all refined, and the top figures in Wanggojing naturally carry an energy aura. Ye Fusion stood behind Jiu Dongyu, and he looked at the people around him and the ancient city below him. Choge, Fengunjavi. I don't know what will be born in this ancient city. Wang Wezong's people don't know if they have arrived, Siyu must come. Thinking of Siyu, a smile appeared on Ye Fusion's face. Ever since he came to Donghang, he had never seen Siyu. A group of people moved forward, someone took the lead to explore the route ahead, and then guided. After some time, they could faintly see that the sky had a very formidable ethnic group. The style is strong, sacred, and several halls are towering. To the clouds, majestic, seemingly above all the buildings in Choge. There, the Dongqin Academy was co-created by Qin Wangcheng and Dong Hazong. The academy descended from the void and chosen in near Dongqin Academy. Soon, news spread from here frantically to all parties and spread to Choge city. The academy arrived, along with the Kotang disciples. Jiu Dongyu also came early. The inn where the disciples were staying quickly focused on the city of Choge. Everyone understood that the storm on the first day of next year was mainly aimed at the academy, not to mention the overwhelming battle. The disciples in the academy looked calm after arriving in Choge city. Occasionally, several disciples came out, all of them younger. No one saw Jiu Dongyu. The day of the final battle is near. Even Jiu Dongyu might have some pressure. After all, this time Jiu Dongyu's opponent was Lu Nanshan, one of the most prestigious characters in the eastern wasteland. The next day, Ye Fusion walked out of the inn. As a cottage disciple, Ye Fusion, who became famous because of the chaos of the Qin dynasty, is now a celebrity. His every move will be plastered in the eyes of the people of Choge city, attracting attention. News immediately came out that Ye Fusion went to the place where the disciples of Wangzong lived, and it seemed that he was visiting the moon elf. Many people are speechless. Does this man still have such a mood? However, many people know that Ye Fusion's girlfriend was invited by Wang Wezong to train at Wang Wezong in the Kangye kingdom. Ye Fusion had to go to his girlfriend. Apart from Ye Fusion, there is the rest of his life, the ruthless young man who once escaped in the Qin dynasty. Ye Fusion and the rest of his life came to the place where the Wanggu sect disciples lived. When they saw Wang Wezong's woman, Ye Fusion raised his hand and said, "Yang Fusion, a disciple of the cottage, has seen all the fairies." Wang Wezong woman looked at Ye Fusion curiously in the rest of her life, and then smiled sweetly. "I saw Ye Gongzi. I heard that Ye Fusion and Hua Jiu are lovers. Hua Jiu is beautiful." They wanted to know what Ye Fusion would be like. Now it seems that he is also a beautiful man. He is amazing and polite. In terms of face and temperament, the master of reconciliation is very good. Is Ye Gongzi looking for a translator? Ye Fusion smiled and nodded. It seems that Wang Wezong's disciples also know that Siyu should have some fame in Wang Yuzong. He wasn't surprised, and he didn't say talent. It's hard to be famous. I am afraid that Ye Gongzi will be disappointed. Siyu, she is not coming this time. A woman said softly. Ye Fusion's eyes showed a strange look. Donghazong Lu Nanshan challenged Jiu Dongyu, and the storm was direct. His source was him and the rest of his life. Siyu had to know that he was coming to Choge City, and he had to come. However, Sister Shiyu asked Sister Ye to bring something for Ye Gongzi, and we brought Ye Gongzi to Sister Ye, said another. Okay, thank you fairy. Ye Fusion nodded, and then the fairy Wangzongzong took Ye Fusion into a courtyard. A beautiful woman looked at Ye Fusion curiously when she saw him coming. She guessed that Ye Fusion would come to him, but he guessed it. Ye Fusion have seen the fairy. No need to be polite, Siyu's eyesight is really good. The woman said with a smile, Sister said that you would come to him and let me take the word for him. He did very well at school, and his spiritual progress was very fast. You don't have to come to practice, so you don't have to worry. Also, Shime said he would be waiting for you the whole time, so you don't do bad things. What does it mean to say that he has a smile on his face and does bad things? Ye Fusion showed a strange expression, and it seemed that the girl was awkward. Thank you, fairy sister. Ye Fusion replied, his perception is sharp, and the other party should not lie, and there is definitely nothing wrong with his interpretation. As for the specific reason, it is unknown. My mouth is so sweet, no wonder Shime doesn't believe in you. The woman looked at Ye Fusion with a smile. Ye Fusion smiled and said, Can fairy brother bring me a word? The woman nodded. Help me to whisper, just say I miss him, and when I am busy, I will go to Wangzong to see him. Ye Fusion said with a smile. The more ambiguously the woman smiled, these two men, so striking and loving, have you ever thought about the feelings of the preacher? Okay. The woman smiled and nodded. Thank you, elf brother, then I will go first. Ye Fusion raised his hand, then turned and left. Out of the courtyard, there was a path ahead, and the rest of my life followed quietly. There were two figures walking in front of the road, and Ye Fusion showed a strange look when he saw them. King Wang, King Li, Wang Wezongchu. It's hard not to make people think that they are walking together. Wang Wezong, should we also join the Qin dynasty? Of course, he did not want to see such an end. Wajayu trained in Wang Wezong. King Li and Chuyan naturally saw Ye Fusion and the rest of their lives. They stopped, King Li's eyes became a little sharper, and they fell on Ye Fusion. Ye Fusion glanced at the two of them, then looked away, ready to pass him. Even though he didn't really like King Li, but he and Chuyan didn't know each other, nor were they from the Wezong sect, so they had no right to interfere. Wait. King Li suddenly opened his mouth, Ye Fusion passed him, then stopped and turned his back to him. I heard that a lot of people came to campus this time, and the cursed male students descended the mountain at the same time. King Liko said, his tone was strange, as if on purpose, showing a hint of disdain. Ye Fusion lifted his pace and continued to move forward, ignoring each other's nonsense. Have you thought about what will happen when you join the Qin dynasty? King Li said again. I haven't thought about it, and I'm not interested. Ye Fusion responded and continued walking. There really is no turning back in the world. King Li seemed to be talking to himself. In recent years, the students of the lodge have worn a layer of legend, but they are too mythical. The academy is the most famous genius in Donghanging, the birthplace. The thatched cottage is the core of the academy. There are some brilliant records that very normal. Famous characters among the top forces in the Eastern Wasteland have never had any glory. This time, the academy is facing the Qin dynasty in Donghazong, which is also the place where the best people in the Eastern Wasteland live. When the myth is solved, it is unknown whether the academy or the thatched cottage can withstand worldly rumors. King Li he still said to himself, and said, the higher you hold it, the harder you step on it. Unless the hut is never defeated, it is a disaster, and in this world, there has never been an indelible myth. How many legends, ancient and modern, can be immortal and immortal, even if as strong as the previous dynasty under the iron feet of the Qin dynasty, and still give up? The Qin dynasty, which was once immortal, also collapsed. The same goes for academies and lodges. This time, what they prepared for the academy was not just a battle between Lu Nanshan and Jiu Dongyu. Ye Fusion's steps stopped, and King Li's words seemed to make sense, just like his original evaluation. However, there is only some truth. Want to make a halt? Thinking of the brothers and sisters in the cottage, Ye Fusion's face showed a bright smile. If there was a place in the Eastern Wasteland that could become a legend, then it had to be a place like a thatched hut. A shattered myth is not a myth. The reason why a legend can be called a legend is because of its immortality. Ye Fusion said slowly, and the hut will become an eternal legend. Is that true? King Li heard Ye Fusion's arrogant words. Alright, wait and see. Let's wait and see. Ye Fusion responded and lifted his leg to leave. Chapter 254, Michiko Furunoki. Coming out of the inn, Ye Fuxian looked up, and he could see a very tall building in the distance, the East Qin Academy building. The places where the top powers settled were in the area near the East Qin Academy. They walked down the street and through the street. At this moment, it seems that there are many people gathered, watching something vaguely. Ye Fuxian glanced over there and saw two men and horses facing each other, faintly emitting a sharp breath, which was a sword breath. Fuyun Janzong. Ye Fuxian's eyes flashed, then he lifted his feet to the other side, stepped into the crowd, and saw many familiar figures. People from Fuyun Janzong, people from Sword Mountain, and people from Daezongzong. This trip is not just a college, many top forces have sent many disciples to the mountain, and the 7 peaks of Fuyun Janzong are independent of each other. At this time, the two sides facing each other are the strong ones of Fuyun Janzong and Dosheng Mountain. The two powers are always temporary. At this moment, the sword is stretched out, and I don't know what happened. At this time, there are other strong men around, and other strong men are rushing over here. Among the crowd of Daezong, Qian Ying's shadow fell on Ye Fuxian, with a smile. Master Ye has not seen him for a few days. His style is better than in the past, but Biu misses him very much. The person who spoke is of course the mage Jiu Biu. The voice is gentle, the eyes are seductive, as if to be imprinted in other people's thoughts. It is very attractive. In this case, Ye Fuxian can't wait to serve. Ye Fuxian glanced at the witch and smiled. Jiu Biu Zhao laughed. The little girl thought, but this time I went out with my brother. My brother is very disciplined, so I won't worry, master. The dialogue between the two caught the attention of many people. Many eyes were on Ye Fuxian. Many people in the ancient circle faintly heard it. Ye Fuxian had accepted Jiu Biu as a servant. Involved. Ye Fuxian remembered the words Tang Ye said in the wild world that day and knew that Daezongzong had a very strong character, this mage brother, and now he must have arrived in Choge. Among the crowd of Fuyun Janzong, Li Daoqing was amazed. His eyes were gloomy. He looked at Ye Fuxian, showing his intent to kill. His older brother, Li Doin, because of his grievances with Ye Fuxian and Ye Wuchen, first burned his arm, and was killed by Ye Wuchen in the sword battle at Fuyun Janzong. He would not forget this enmity. At this time, another party came and a voice shouted, "You are Fuxian." Looking back, Ye Fuxian saw Ye Wuchen and Liu Feiang, Liu Shenyu and others coming together, and couldn't show a strange look. He looked at Ye Wuchen and Liu Shenyu with a smile, said, "See, I don't need to do anything here." Liu Shenyu's eyes stared at Ye Fuxian, but he was also used to his mischievous attitude. "I met you on the street," Ye Wuchen said. Ye Fuxian noticed that behind Ye Wuchen, there were many Jiangxiu Jianyun sword repairs. It seems that Ye Wuchen was led faintly, and he saw the scene. It seems that Ye Wuchen has done well in Fuyun Janzong, and clearly has a good status. Ye Wuchen, pay attention to your identity. An indifferent voice came from those who faced the strongest sword sacred mountain, which was the first peak of Fuyun Janzong. The ones who spoke were Luo Xiao, Fuyun Janzong Yifeng was a leading figure of the younger generation and was extremely talented. Sword Saint was a world renowned for its reputation with the Floating Cloud Sword sect. To the sword sage in the thatched hut, it was the highest glory, but to the Floating Cloud Sword sect, it was an undeniable shame. Therefore, the people of Fuyun Janzong are not related to the people in the cottage, and there is no need to say more about Dosheng Mountain. Ye Wuchen glanced at Luo Xiao and said, "You should know that I am with Kang Ye with him before I enter Fuyun Janzong. When you enter the sword sect, you must cut the front dust." Luo Xiao spoke again. Although his voice was calm, his eyes were very sharp. Ye Wuchen directly killed Li Doin in a sword test fight. Not satisfied, but this battle is true, Li Doin received the sword pole, and was killed in the battle in the sky, and the first peak has nothing to say. But now, Ye Wuchen was walking with his disciples again. "I don't need to ask you how I act," Ye Wuchen said lightly. Luo Xiao's eyes stared at Ye Wuchen, a sharp light flashed, and then he didn't look at Ye Wuchen anymore. The people around them showed different colors. The most famous Yunyun Janzong is the first peak and the 7th peak. Today, the disciples of the first peak and 7th peak openly broke out. As they were talking, someone came again, and the strong man in the Tension King Hall entered the crowd. One of them looked directly at Ye Fuxian, and it was extremely cold and extremely cruel. It was Luo Junlin. Beside Luo Junlin, Hizaru's gaze was also slightly cold. When he returned to the Hanging King Temple of Kangye, he was punished by his father, and he even took Luo Junlin for treatment. Because of this, his father also lost face in front of several other temple masters. Where Hizaro saw the people in the customary lands like the Kangye kingdom, but Ye Fuxian entered the hut, and as soon as he entered the hut, his fame spread to the east. Ye Fuxian naturally looked at Luo Junlin and Hiziro with a hint of indifference in his eyes. The royal prince of Nandu once made him into a book boy, but now that I see you again in the desert, I don't know how I feel. The two turned to each other, and the killing of Luo Junlin in his eyes was not hidden. Today, Ye Fuxian really threatened him and the Nandu country. If Ye Fuxian is allowed to grow, once Ye Fuxian enters the princely era, it will be the end of the Nandu kingdom. There is a hut, and the king's palace behind it will not help it. It's very lively here. At this time, a voice came, and I saw that King Wang and son King Li also came here. Looks like I heard about the movement here. Wang Wezong Chuxing was with him. Yes, the scene can't help but be imaginative. According to sources, not long ago King left Wang Wezong, and the fairy Wang Wezong came with him to Choge. A few days will be the day my aunt and Donghazong Qianshan Mu get married, and also the day when the Dongqin Academy opens. You are all the best people of the Eastern Wasteland. Why not open the Dongqin Academy? A little more, King Li said with a smile. The Qin and Donghazong dynasties merged to create the East Qin Academy. Many arrogant figures from the two great powers would announce their acceptance into the East Qin Academy on that day. Apart from the battle between Lu Nanshan and Jiu Dongyu on the opening day of the hospital, there was naturally a lot of fun, otherwise how would the East Qin Academy's uniqueness be exposed? Looks like it can't be beat. The people around watching quietly said that the relationship between the main forces could be described as complicated and complicated, but King Li seemed to deliberately let everyone leave their grievances to settle on the opening day of the East Qin Academy. King Shuyong opened his door to create momentum. Let's go, Ye Fuxian said. Don't want to stay here, I don't know why, he is really annoyed to see King Li, seeing him, he wants to beat him. But the three brothers said that the academy was a place of reason, and it was not good to actively hit people. So see it as not visible. Turning around, Ye Fuxian and them left. Luo Junlin's eyes always stopped on Ye Fuxian, as if in his eyes, only Ye Fuxian. Herr Fuxian, they did not go far and stopped. Not far in front of them, a figure dressed in black stood calmly, and long black hair was sprinkled on his shoulders. Beautiful. His eyes were also pierced by pitch black, as if it could make people fall. Even though he didn't let out a breath, but standing there casually gave off a strong threat. Ye Fuxian paused subconsciously. Ye Wuchen frowned, his body glittered with a sword, and from the other side, he saw a powerful aura. Liu Feiyang and Liu Shenyu looked at the person at the same time. Liu Feiyang's eyes flashed, and the image of a person appeared in his mind, but he did not have absolute certainty. The black figure's eyelids lifted, and his eyes fell on Ye Fuxian's body. His eyes and pupils seemed to be capable of sucking in people, and he said lightly, "Are you Ye Fuxian?" "What is it?" Ye Fuxian glanced at the other side, he didn't know the person. When his voice dropped, he saw the other person's eyes and dark pupils, like a flash of magic fire, instantly imprinted in his mind. At this moment, Ye Fuxian only felt that his mental power was igniting, and he gave birth to this kind of illusion, as if the whole human being was in the ninth lonesome fire. The darkness of the fire enveloped his body and wanted to burn it. Careful. Liu Feiyang seemed to confirm the identity of the other party and reminded Ye Fuxian, but he saw the dark magic flames appearing in Ye Fuxian's eyes at this moment, and he couldn't help but feel a sense. Ancient Autumn, stop. Liu Feiyang scolded angrily. Ye Fuxian closed his eyes, his body quickly moved backwards, his eyes and pupils seemed to have a terrible magic power, and his mental strength was suffering from excruciating pain. When he stepped back, the attack disappeared into sight. He stopped, opened his eyes shone and stared at each other. Tao Dezong, the ancient autumn of Taozi. He saw which Jiu Biu is a sister. In the future, I don't want to hear the word made from your mouth, even if you are a student of the lodge. Jiu Jiku said quietly, then he lifted his feet and walked away, very calm, as if he did nothing. He clearly warned Ye Fuxian that he was not allowed to address Jiu Biu with the word made. He thought of Jiu Biu as a sister, how could he let others slander Jiu Biu with these two words? If Ye Fuxian enters the hut, I am afraid that he will do more than that. Ye Fuxian looked at the figure of the person who was about to leave, and a strange color appeared in his eyes. I heard that Dezong practiced the cultivation of the Daoxin mind magic method. Just now the other person's eyes seemed to have planted a magic fire in his own mind. This person's realm is much stronger than his. Will wave to be famous. Chapter 255, Magic Tripod. Is it threatened? Ye Fuxian muttered, there is a lesson from Donghazong's past, and the ancient autumn Dao Mozong dares to threaten him, but he is also a brave man. This fellow is as arrogant as the rumors. Liu Feiyang looked at the disappearing figure. Daezong's style of behavior has always been whimsical and eclectic. They all experience the personality of a witch. Tao Zi's personality is very different, cold and direct. Is Dao Mozong good at spirituality? Ye Fuxian asked Liu Feiyang. The previous attack was triggered by a mental spell. Spiritual masters of spiritual practice are most suitable for spiritual masters. They are able to plant their own footprints in the spiritual power of others, which is very frightening. Liu Feiyang replied, Taoist spiritual practitioners are the main force. The least of them is only equivalent to Qiankyu Temple. Of course, the thatched hut can't be counted as one of them, but the strength of many people in Daezongzong is strong and strange. Individual fighting strength, it might not be weaker than the three major powers in the central region of the Eastern Wasteland. Spiritual mages have always been one of the most dangerous practitioners in all professions, especially some spiritual mages with strange abilities who combine the power of Gongfa or other means well, which will be even more terrifying. What state is he in now? Ye Fuxian asked. The spirit department previously attacked and it was difficult to judge the specific state of the other party. It must be in heaven. Liu Feiyang looked at Ye Fuxian and said, your territory is a bit low. After a few days, the East Keen Academy opened. I am afraid that there will be some waves. Based on your territory, I am afraid that it will be difficult to participate. Too bad. With Ye Fuxian's natural strength, there should be a stage that belongs to him, but he is limited by the world, and it is difficult to compete with those top evildoers. That group of people was now almost in the sky. Ye Fuxian was a little depressed. He spent most of the year training in retreat. Now he has stepped into the sixth state, but on the stage of the Eastern Wasteland, this country is really not enough, even for the peak forces. There were too many younger generations who were taller than him, and many of them had entered the sky. It seems we really need to work hard. Are we going back now? Liu Feiyang asked. What do you think? Ye Fuxian looked at him. Choge City is the former capital of the previous dynasty. After the Yin dynasty family was defeated, the dynasty was broken. In the first battle, the ancient palace of Choge City was destroyed and many former dynasties were destroyed, but there are still some remnants of the dynasty. Stay, the most important place to stay. Famous as Dinglu. Are you interested in seeing it? Dinglu, where is it? Ye Fuxian asked. At the former pilgrimage site, there is a magic tripod outside the tripod building. It is said to be a very powerful weapon. Why can a dynasty be destroyed when a national movement is founded? Ye Wuchen said, apparently he didn't believe these ridiculous words. The national movement depends on the strength of state practitioners. Because of the era of the collapse of the previous dynasty, no one can hold a tripod. Liu Feiyang said with a smile, of course, no one knows the truth, but it is true that this tripod can forge the practice of physical borrowing. There may have been a lot of people been there. Go and see. Ye Fuxian's eyes flashed, and Liu Feiyang nodded. Then a group of people changed direction and headed somewhere. Ellipsis ellipsis ellipsis. Dinglu was also not far from Dong Keen Academy, and it was near Yin's house. Under the iron nails of the Qin dynasty, the former dynasty defeated the surrender, but Dinglu is still a relic of the previous dynasty, and is still guarded by the powerful Yin family. Of course, tonight was different from the previous time. The former Dinglu was a sacred place, and no one could approach it. However, the sacred place has also been destroyed by the Qin dynasty. Besides, Bearding is already a legend now. Naturally, it won't be as guarded as it used to be. Anyone can feel Bearding's coercion. At this time, there are many strong people gathered around Dinglu, especially those from the top powers in the Eastern Wasteland. Now that you have come to Choge, you will naturally come to Dinglu to have a look. When Ye Fuxian arrived, he saw a huge bearding in front of Dinglu, which is located on the ground. Above the big bearding, there are a number of patterns. The patterns are like jumping into the eyes, like a demigod. Your Majesty is terrible. This bearding has a greenish-green color, as if cast by bronze. The surrounding heaven and earth seems to have a majestic power that falls on bearding, as if it can absorb the aura of heaven and earth. Nothing can move. What's more, bearding seems to be engraved with a strong circle of law around it. A mysterious atmosphere surrounds bearding. The golden light is dazzling and extremely sacred. Nice treasure. Ye Fuxian looked at bearding and said, since the Qin dynasty destroyed the former dynasty, why is Ren Zhangding sitting here and not taking him away? There are rumors among them that this tripod is known as the heavy weapon of the former Korean Empire, and the City National Games. Some people call it Wangding, and some people call it Supreme Tripod, but more people call it Magic Tripod. You see the pattern engraved on this tripod is a demon. Of course, it's not only because of the pattern, but also because the Qin dynasty defeated the previous dynasty and handed it over. At that time, a talented prince came to this holy place to pick up a tripod. The Qin dynasty prince was completely suppressed by Mo Ding and died during revocation of Ding. Therefore, this Ding was named Mo Ding and was considered unknown to the Qin dynasty. Perhaps it was the last national movement of the previous dynasty. Since then, Qin dynasty many years have not found this tripod. To this day, many descendants the Qin dynasty has long been unsure of this evil, but there is not a single descendant who can take the tripod. Moreover, the Yin family has given up on following the Qin dynasty. On the trail, naturally, the Qin dynasty's power will not come to take the magic tripod. Liu Feiyang slowly said, "What's more, even if you want to take it, you may not be able to do it, and the Qin dynasty elders will naturally not come to do this kind of thing." Ye Fuxian nodded. In this sense, this magic tripod is very famous, but no one has ever used it, and he kept it there. At this time, the figure of the black robe stepped out, and walked towards the magic tripod in front. That is the strong of Tao Dezong. Everyone stared at this person, but it was a very strong Tao Dezong character. "I don't know where to take the magic tripod." The figure of the black robe came to the bottom of the large magic tripod. Tripods have 3 legs. He held both his hands with his hands slightly bent, and then shouted angrily. His arms were full of blue tendons, and his magical power exploded from his hands. The magic circle around Modding seemed to light up, and the lines of the demon ***** above Modding also moved. The golden light around him shone, and an invisible force pushed him down. Modding moved, and the space seemed to tremble. With a roar, the strong man lifted the tripod from the ground, but only for a moment he groaned, a loud bang, and the magic tripod landed. So domineering. Ye Fuxian blinked. Is the former dynasty's heavy weapon a country that ordinary Dezong disciples can lift? Liu Feiyang said, if one were to forcibly lift the tripod, it might even be killed instantly like the original prince of the Qin dynasty. This is in history. It happened again and again. It really is a magic tripod. Ye Fuxian said, this name should be the most appropriate, no wonder it will be recognized. At this point, a figure approached Ye Fuxian and said, before you came, many people tried and failed. At most, they left the magic tripod a few inches off the ground. No one has ever done it. Distance. The speaker was Nangong Zhao. He came with people from the academy. Behind him, young disciples like Tu Baiyun, Quashan and Tang Ye were all here. It seemed from here. Have you tried it? Ye Fuxian asked. Not yet, he wants to try Quashan. Nangong Zhao said. Behind him, Quashan's burly body stepped out, and walked towards Modding. Ye Fuxian looked at him. Quashan came to the academy with him earlier this year, and was one of the outstanding students recruited by the academy. He was accepted by Zong Zushan as a young disciple. He walked under the magic tripod, and then, with a loud roar, the bones of his body made a clicking sound. His body seemed to get bigger, and he needed to lower his head to stand there. I saw him carrying a tripod and holding the tripod in his hand. Then he shouted loudly, space shook, and Modding descended from the ground. Quashan's muscles shook, and Modding was an inch or two away from the ground. Gradually, under the eyes of many people who were shocked, Modding was 1 foot off the ground. A more terrible force fell on him. The pattern on the magic tripod came alive, the terrible demon god light was released, and for a while, the shaman screamed, and the magic tripod was dropped slightly, and finally the magic tripod landed smoothly. He walked out of the magic tripod, his body still shaking, and no one knew what he was going through. Amazing, the students in the academy are really extraordinary. This person doesn't seem to be famous, but he is still very strong. Many people around looked at Quashan, showing appreciation, and Modding was 1 foot off the ground, which was the best record of the day. It was just made by an unknown disciple of the academy, which was the strength of the academy. Quashan returned to the crowd, and Tu Baiyun said to him, looks like you used brute force. Quashan looked at him coldly, and Tu Baiyun looked at Ye Fuxian and the rest of his life, and said, don't even try. Tu Baiyun really appreciates it, but the name of the Kotang disciple is far from the academy student. He wants to see how strong the Kotang disciple in the mountain is. Ye Fuxian glanced at Tu Baiyun faintly. From his opponent's eyes, he could see a slight quarrel, ignoring him and still staring at the magic tripod. Modding, the country's heavy weapon, he is not interested in Juding. If he and the rest of his life were to be shot, of course it would be nothing to boast about, but he was more curious about Modding than Juding himself. Da Zanzi watched the idea work. He saw the pattern on the magic tripod, and wanted to see through this magic tripod. Chapter 256, Juding. When Dazuizu's idea was running, Ye Fuxian no longer saw a simple pattern, but an extraordinary magical will. The pattern seemed to come alive, like a demon, enveloping him. A terrible demon is coming, his will seems to be surrounded by the devil. Boom. An extremely terrifying demon will descended, as if the stronger the will, the worse the demon will was released. Ye Fusion snorted, gathered and thought freely, and didn't look anymore. Everything was restored as usual. Mo Ding was still only Mo Ding, as if what he saw now was just an illusion. But he knows at this time that it is not surprising that no one in any world can take the magic tripod, that the will of the gods seems to be able to suppress all the powerful, and the stronger the power to motivate them, the stronger the pressure will be released. What is it? Ye Wuchen asked. Liu Feiyang and Liu Shenyu also looked at Ye Fusion. Despite the low humming sound, they still heard it. This demon is indeed a heavy weapon, a very powerful treasure. Ye Fusion said, he wanted to try it himself, but at this time, I saw another person coming out of the crowd and heading to the devil. Suddenly shouted. The man who walked out was a monk. He wore a simple cloth and a pair of cloth shoes on his feet. He looked shabby, but his temperament was extraordinary. At a glance, he felt calm, like a man out of the world. It turned out to be the monk who appeared out of the Qiankyu temple strongman's camp. He was carrying a Buddha, and holding a string of bergamot in his hand, chanted the Buddha's mantra in his mouth. Everyone already knew his previous identity, the Buddha of the Qiankyu temple. In the eastern wasteland, the title of the younger generation, with the word Z on the back, are all extremely extraordinary characters. The empire has Prince, Tao Dezong has Dozi, and Fuyun Janzong has a sword. All identities. The symbol, Qiankyu temple, is Buddha. In addition, the word Zizi has a more mysterious origin, which is especially frightening. Whether it is a college or a follower of Dong Hazong, anyone who meets a Buddha is afraid to say that they have an absolute talent advantage, even if it is a cottage student. The Buddha is mysterious and unpredictable, but his power is unquestionable. Today, the Buddha came out of the Qiankyu temple camp and headed for the magic tripod. The Buddha will also hold the tripod. At this time, a figure came out, approached the Buddha, and asked. This person is wearing a Chinese costume and is very polite. No matter who he is, he must respect the Buddha in the Qiankyu temple. The speaker was a young man from the Yin family in Choge city. This Dinglu area belongs to the Yin family. The Buddha nodded slightly. This tripod is always fierce, and Buddha is careful. The Yin family youth said again, then the body retreated. The Buddha came to Mo Ding, and instead of coming to the tripod like everyone else, he stood in front of Mo Ding. His eyes seemed to have turned golden, and there was a vertical light in his brows, as if the Buddha's eyes had opened. Jingwang shrouded the magic tripod. He spat out a Sanskrit voice, and suddenly the Sanskrit voice persisted, constantly hovering towards the magic tripod, and turned into characters. The characters were condensed in the form of Van, and he wanted to wrap the magic tripod in it. Sanskrit voice continued, gradually, and the number of characters increased, almost covered with magic tripods from all directions. From the magic tripod, a terrible coercion was released, swept over, and a terrifying space appeared in the space. Storm Demon Buddha. Very strong. Everyone's heart trembled. This kind of power does not mean the power of the world, but the magic power of Buddha and Tao. At this time, the sound of Sanskrit is still lingering in the ear, and the whole world seems to resonate, turning into the power of Buddha. In the distance, there are people coming to this side constantly, especially when I heard that the Buddha was holding a tripod, even more curious. Buddha, can he lift the magic tripod? Many top-level figures had appeared, staring at the Buddha. The name of the Buddha echoed with the heavens and the earth, and the golden attribute aura was restless, and Van the character was filled with a magic tripod, and then around the magic journey, there was an illusory Buddha shadow, like the ancestor of 10,000 Buddhas. The Van Flash characters flashed with a terrible light, then they actually raised the magic tripod, and the magic tripod rose slightly and stood up. The Buddha holds the tribute, not by force but by Buddhist magic. 1 inch, 2 inches, 1 foot. Immediately, the height of the magic tripod surpassed the previous caution's feet. Moreover, it continues to take off. A terrifying power came upon the Buddha, not only his divinity, but also the illusions of the Buddha around him that carried the pressure of the magic tripod. The magic tripod slowly rose as it ascended, and it emitted a terrifying light. Suppresses everything in the world. The magic tripod had gone up to 2 feet, and many people were showing their admiration. What's even scarier is that it seems like this is not the limit, the magic tripod is still up. Even the strong people in the Yin family showed shocking colors. Many strong men came to try it before, including the Qin dynasty and the figures of Tianzhao Dong Hazong. 3 feet was the limit. Now, the Buddha is expected to break 3 legs. It is said that many years ago, the immortal Prince of Keen held a tripod in the kingdom of a top prince, gathered a magic tripod to a height of 8 feet, ruled the world, and the color of the world changed. Then Prince Keen still refused to give up. The son of fate, when he took up the kingdom's heavy weapon to suppress everything in the world, his admiration for his strength and power was very strong, but he was finally killed by Mo Dingzhen, who was sad and honorable. The magic tripod rose 3 feet, but the pattern on the magic tripod could no longer be suppressed. In order to break through everything, the Buddha wanted to suppress the magic path pattern with the Buddhist scriptures, but at this moment, one inscription was broken and it became a golden light. The sound of Brahman is all over the world, the magic tripod is still rising and falling, but the characters are constantly being broken and shattered, gradually, they are swept away, and a terrible light presses on them, falling on the illusion of Buddha and Tao. Kill it. At the same time, a terrifying light flashed towards the Buddha, but when he saw the Buddha recite the Buddha's name, a large brush appeared in front of him, frantically swirled and turned into a barrier. A crisp sound came out, the word broke, the Buddha's body was shaken back, then the magic tripod fell again, and the earth shook with a loud sound. Nevertheless, everyone's gaze towards Buddha was still only respect. The magic tripod rose more than 3 feet away. For many, this is a miracle and almost impossible. The Yin family youth squeaked, "The devil made me wait for today's eye-opener, I am afraid that no one can break this record for a short time." The strong people of the Qin dynasty and Dong Hazong had tried before. 3 legs is the limit, which is difficult to break. Buddha, let the magic tripod rise beyond 3 feet. How much can this tripod go up? Ye Fuxian asked curiously, his eyes stared silently at Ye Fuxian, and he glanced at the Liu Feiyang next to him and the rest of his life, vaguely guessing Ye Fuxian's identity. It should be him who is so close to Princess Liu. Ask me what to do. Yin Mo said, disrespecting Buddha. Although Ye Fuxian came from the Hut, but no one knows the relationship between the Hut and the Qin dynasty. His Yin family was affiliated with the Qin dynasty, so there was no need for Ye Fuxian is too good. A little curious, how much can this magic tripod go up before it can be picked up? Ye Fuxian said, it's a shame that Bearding is still here. There was a strange look on Yin Mo. For countless years, no one has done so. Does he have a silly idea? Even a Kotang disciple, however, is in a low state of affairs, and it seems that he is stupid. I don't know. I heard that the Grass Church disciple Ye Fuxian has broken many records in the ancient world. Why don't you try to break the limit and lift the magic tripod? Yin said with a smile, a slight tone tap lightly. His Yin family's precious pot was incomparable to the ruins of the ancient world. Can you take it? Ye Fuxian showed a different color. If you can take it, go ahead. Yin Mo reached out and gestured to ask, his face was smiling very freshly, as if he could give Mo Ding any time. What hasn't been done for so many years, Ye Fuxian wants to take a magic tripod. He hoped that Ye Fuxian would try. The harder the will, the better. In this way, he could be killed by Mo Ding. In ancient times, Prince Qin Juding was killed and killed. If some Kotang disciples died today, it would be interesting. Even Kotang can't blame anyone. Yin family is atmospheric, but I'm just talking about it, it doesn't matter if you try. Ye Fuxian said, as if he couldn't understand the ridicule in the other party's tone. After saying that, Ye Fuxian lifted his steps and walked towards Mo Ding. Around him, countless eyes fell on him, except for the people of the top forces, many people did not know his previous identity. Until he secretly pointed out, they didn't know that Kotang's disciple Ye Fuxian had come here. Want to be picked up? Ye Fuxian went under the magic tripod. He didn't think about holding the tripod with magic like Buddha. The Buddhist monk's magic is his own, mysterious and very powerful, but he can't do it. So he did it the way most people do. Ye Fuxian carried out the training, with the dragon hidden in his body, like a real dragon. At the same time, the terrible ghost bloomed and turned into a terrible ape. Get up. Ye Fuxian sighed, and suddenly the shadow of the ape released the power of terror, raised the magic tripod, and for a moment a strong force came down and fell on him. Chapter 257, Resonance. Around the magic tripod, the raging aura left, a strong coercion was suppressed, and fell on Ye Fuxian's body. At this moment, Ye Fuxian's body was like a monster. Jinpeng's true dragon body endured this terrible coercion. The ape lifted its back, and suddenly the magic tripod rose slightly, and the higher it rose, the stronger the pressure came. After a while, the magic tripod went up 1 foot, many people stared at the figure of Ye Fuxian, worthy of being a cottage teacher, shooting extraordinary, directly lifting the 1-foot magic tripod. In addition, Ye Fusion's body did not even touch the magic tripod directly, but seemed to act as a monster and raised the magic tripod. On the magic tripod, the pattern glows, and the demon patterns flow with a terrifying light. An invisible force descends on the magic tripod, making it heavy and overwhelming, and at the same time, a terrible magical will rush in. Ye Fusion's mind turned into an invisible compulsion. Mo Dong's pressure is from invisible to real. The stronger the resistance, the more powerful and terrifying the pressure released by Mo Ding will be. Ye Fusion's movement of lifting the tripod was very slow, but it did not stop. The magic tripod continued to rise slightly. He didn't dare lift the tripod directly. The stronger the meaning, the stronger the anti-phasing force, and suddenly once you break through your own ultimate limit, it is a dead end. This magic tripod is outrageous and can literally kill the person lifting it. When the magic tripod rises to 2 feet, the force is stronger. Ye Fusion's mind seemed to have a ghost image of a demon lord, and a terrifying power engulfed his body crazily. Suppress everything. Ye Fusion felt this coercion. His strong will in his mind was against the will of the incoming demon, and he protected the will in the body with the will of the empire. There was a terrifying light flowing through his body. However, at this moment, Mo Ding stopped and Ye Fusion did not continue to hold Ding. At this moment, the power that was uploaded from Mo Ding was quite strong. Even though he could continue to improve, he didn't. The strong will guarded its own will, while the spiritual will sensed the power of the magic tripod. Accidentally, the will attacks the magic tripod, like entering the map of the demon *******, which is the world of the demon ********. After a while, Ye Fusion will retreat. The emperor means that he can't use too much strength to go inside to fight the will of the demon god, but he can protect his will. Endless brilliance descended on his body, and his power would flow into his mind. He actually operated the body shaping method. The body seemed to have a raging dragon, a golden winged rock appeared, and a god ape rod. Wash your body. Liu Feiyang was right, this magic tripod could indeed be used to temper meat. However, ordinary people would not do this. After all, how many people can survive in modding? Only the top criminals can do it. At this time, Ye Fusion kept his posture steady, allowed Mo Ding to stay on 2 feet in the air, closed his eyes, and allowed endless strength to wash his body. Therefore, to outsiders, Ye Fusion seems to be working against Mo Dong's oppression. Is it only 2 feet? Seeing this scene, some people whispered that if other people did this move, it would be very strong, but it was Ye Fusion's 2 legs, which did not deserve to be flaunted. However, after thinking about it, Ye Fusion Zhu was apparently not tall, and it was very difficult to be able to lift 2 legs, maybe because the expectations of the Kotang disciples were too high. However, they saw Ye Fusion standing there the whole time, like a stalemate with Mo Ding, constantly enduring Mo Dong's oppressive might. What did he do? Muffy, still want to try again? Some people think that at this time, Ye Fusion moved again, and the magic tripod lifted a little more. The rumbling sound in his body made his veins growl, as if under extreme pressure. Seems like it doesn't want to. Someone from Donghazong smiled. But what about the reluctance? The more difficult Mo Ding, the more difficult Ye Fusion wants to continue. After a while, the virtual shadow of the cape on Ye Fusion pulled another inch, and the coercion was stronger. His eyes were closed, and beads of sweat appeared on his body. Is that Kotang disciple very careful? Yin Mo watched Ye Fusion's figure faintly, but he hoped that Ye Fusion would be a little more aggressive, very careful, and with a little progress, it would be difficult for Mo Ding to kill him head on. Of course, if Ye Fusion refused to give up like this every time, if he suddenly collapsed and couldn't stand it, it would also be a disaster. Everyone has a lot of thoughts and ideas, but at this moment, Ye Fusion is completely indifferent, immersed in his own cultivation, practicing the body refining method, constantly improving himself, borrowing the pressure of the magic tripod, and, every time will rise and rise, that is, to strengthen the strength and maintain it in best practice. Finally, when the magic tripod rose to 2 feet and 5 inches, Ye Fusion's body seemed to explode, and a terrible storm hammer hit him. His body was tight and his flesh seemed to have reached a critical point. An invisible force emerged against the trend, and the aura coalesced into a terrifying storm. Ye Fusion opened his eyes and looked up. The ape screamed, his hands seemed to lift the heavens and the earth. In Ye Fusion's body, the endless physical strength erupted fiercely, and the terrifying power hit the magic tripod, causing it to rapidly rise. Seeing the terrifying sharp glint in the silent eyes of this scene, he couldn't wait to see such a sight. However, when Ye Fusion's boundless power exploded fiercely, his body flickered, and he walked out from under the magic tripod like a golden winged rock. The violent outbreak of the power on the magic tripod instantly calmed down in the air, then fell fiercely to the ground. The earth shook, like an earthquake. 3 legs. Everyone saw the distance that Moding finally lifted, 3 feet tall. Is that the limit that Ye Fusion does the best to do? Moreover, in a sense, Ye Fusion didn't make a lot of money, because he ran away when he was in power. Before the Qin dynasty and Donghazong's arrogance, they were 3-legged. Yin Mo said, and everyone heard Yin Mo's words flashed. Ye Fusion's realm is inferior, but he is close to those people. The Buddha is the strongest. Ye Fusion glanced at Yin Mu, smiled, and said nothing. At this moment, his physical body broke through the limit, the body refining method broke through, and the martial arts broke through. At this time, he feels very comfortable. As for the tripod, does it make sense to practice? What about 3 legs and 4 legs? How a humble person like him cares about other people's views. At this point he looked at the magic tripod, his eyes lit up, a really good baby, but unfortunately can't pick it up. You tried it. Ye Fusion walked back to Ye Wachan and waited. Ye Wachan shook his head. He was a pure sword practitioner, and he was holding a tripod. The rest of my life. Ye Fusion's eyes fell on the rest of his life, and the rest of his life nodded. Of course he understood Ye Fusion's meaning, and walked towards Moding. This magic tripod also suits him and can temper his physical body. Thatched hut, the rest of my life. Many eyes were on the rest of his life. Although the rest of his life did not become a hut disciple, in the Qin dynasty he claimed to be a lawnmower choker, but no one dared to hate him. The rest of his life is under the magic tripod. He was burly and, like Kwashan, gripped the tripod with his hands, and then was forced hard, and suddenly the magic tripod was lifted. On the magic tripod, a strong courage came, and the rest of his life roared, and the magic tripod continued to rise, and immediately rose to great heights. Caution looked at the scene with a gaze, slightly speechless. The man was more terrifying than him. Tuba Yun was silent. When Ye Fusion raised his head, he kept his mouth shut because he couldn't do it. Similarly, the coercion descended, and the flesh of the rest of his life shone with a dark golden luster, as if it was covered with a layer of armor, and was allowed to be crushed by an endless force. When the invisible devil will came, his eyes became very scary and frightening, like the eyes of the demon god. The strong will not be afraid of everything. Continue to lift the magic tripod. Gradually, the magic tripod rose to a height of 2 feet. What a terrifying power. Everyone stared at the rest of his life. His dark golden magic light shone, his physical strength exploded. It was extremely terrifying, and he was still lifting the magic tripod. The terrifying demonic will power flows into the will of the rest of his life, and his own will is extremely terrifying. His eyes turned into a magic pupil, the dark golden skin faintly appeared a vortex, devouring the suppression of the incoming power. Meanwhile, his magical will devour a bit of the magical will of the attack, as if repairing. Moding pulled slightly, 2 feet an inch, 2 inches. To almost 3 feet. Many people's hearts trembled, almost 3 feet, and they were stronger than Ye Fusion. Ye Fusion's eyes flashed, showing a touch of color. He faintly felt an unusual breath, and watched the thoughts freely. Then he saw a shocking sight. The magic power that flowed throughout the rest of his life like the magic power on a magic tripod resonated in several ways. This. Although Ye Fusion knew that his lifelong practice would be very suitable for a tripod, he did not expect it. What level of magical skills did Godly Father practice for the rest of his life? The power of this magic tripod will be swallowed and refined. For the rest of his life, his body is still up, the magic tripod has passed 3 feet and continues to rise. What happened? The surrounding strongmen were shocked by the sight. At this moment, I saw a terrible light bloom behind the rest of my life. The next moment, a pair of huge wings appeared like demon wings. The giant demon's wings flapped, and its entire body continued to move upwards, lifting the magic tripod into the air, higher and higher. 3 feet, 4 feet. Keep going up. At this time, the Buddha has been surpassed, and it seems that he has not yet reached his limit. There seems to be no limit. Ye Fusion showed a strange look. Could he really take this magic tripod today? In that case, I really want to thank the Yin family. Chapter 258, A Joke. On the magic tripod, an invisible dark force flows towards the body for the rest of the life, and the magic tripod continues to rotate, as if resonating with the will of the rest of life. For the rest of my life, I naturally feel it. The practice is indeed a very arrogant magic path. Magic power was able to seduce the figure of a magic god, and he immediately ignited magic power. He is very majestic and arrogant, like an ancient demon. But even so, Moding himself still contains a very strong suppressive power. While Moding is constantly improving, in addition to resonance, he also has a very strong suppressive power. The two powers seem to be fighting each other. In this confrontation, the magic tripod continues to rise. The rest of my life is so strong. The people around him only felt a thrill, surpassing the Buddha, and at that time, he was very arrogant, and he was like a demon. The magic tripod has risen to a height of 5 feet, and the wings of the demon god are still flapping. This scene is very shocking, as if a demon is holding a tripod and pulling a mountain. Yin's gaze is also fixed there. Before that, he also said that the record of the Buddha can't be surpassed in a short time, but in the blink of an eye, it is broken in the rest of his life, and it is far beyond. What is more frightening is that this is not the end, and he can ride his whole life. Where is the limit? Finally, the rest of his life stopped at 5 feet and was lifted up in the void. Strands of dark golden magical light flowed through the body. This scene made many people look strange. Was he trying to absorb the magic tripod's power? Ye Fusion was not clear before, but the rest of his life was different. In addition to the power to suppress him, the dark golden band was absorbed by the terrifying demon armor on him, and he and Mood appeared a streak of lines in front of him. More and more people were coming here, and they couldn't help showing a strange look when they saw the scene. This tripod is fierce, but it contains magical power. Even the Buddhist Taoist methods still can't refine it. Before that, I was attacked with a strong counterattack. At this time, a voice came out, and the loudspeaker was the Buddha. Suddenly the eyes of many people fell on him, and saw that the Buddha continued to say, when he practices with a tripod, his practice must be very arrogant magic, and this magic tripod resonate. When they heard the words of the Buddha, people nodded silently, and they naturally felt a little unusual. The Buddha had the eye of law and could see more things. He wouldn't be wrong if he said so. If this kid wins this tripod, it's fierce, said the Buddha with folded hands, his eyes flashing, revealing a strange color. What does the Buddha mean? Could the rest of life be fierce? What does Buddha mean? Someone from Donghazong asked. The fierce big people, they must be stained with countless blood, which is a great sin. The Buddha's body seems to have compassion and compassion. Ye Fusion's eyes flashed, and he looked at the Buddha with a hint of indifference. Just by looking at it, you can judge cause and effect, but it doesn't look like a Buddha. Ye Fusion said coldly. Why did Buddha conclude that the rest of his life would be infected by sin? The Buddha's eyes fell on Ye Fusion, and he said, as I said, of course it is not arrogance. Master is very sad and compassionate. Why not go to Xuanhu to help the world? Why come here? Ye Fusion sarcastically started, and he also came to hold the tripod. Now he is here to deceive the crowd. Although the rest of his life is rough, but how will he kill? His anger will only come from himself. The Buddha shook his head slightly and said nothing. For the rest of his life, the magic tripod rose slightly. After a while, the magic tripod rose to a height of 6 feet. He watched the scene silently and was shocked. It's like a miracle to him. The Yin family is guarding the tripod building. Nobody's ever done this. Even the disciples of the Donghazong dynasty in the Qin dynasty only lifted the tripod with 3 legs and the Buddha only 4. Now, the rest of his life is passionately recording. At that time, the Prince of Qin lifted his leg and he couldn't handle it. If he surpassed, thinking about the words passed down from the ancestors of the Yin family, his face couldn't help but change. With the appearance of the magic tripod, the aura around the magic tripod has completely dissipated. The aura seems to be attached to a layer of dark light, and the airflow flows frantically, frightening to the extreme. The space changes color. In addition, there is violent coercion into the environment. Besides, this is not the limit. With the rest of his life training, the magic tripod continues to improve. Darkness surrounded this space, and everyone around him felt horror. It would be amazing, as if it came straight out of thin air. A person's body recedes, this compulsion is very strong, as if the person holding the tripod today is not just for the rest of their lives, they are all running the tripod. The magic tripod rose to a height of 7 feet, the sky and earth turned dark colors, and the bodies of people continued to retreat into the distance. Even people who are far away see visions here, and some people come to the side. Yin Mo's face became more and more ugly. If the rest of his life really did reach 9 feet in height, then what? Did she really want him to take Moding away? This tripod is his Yin family's treasure. Even if no one can use the Yin family now, it has been passed down from the past to the present day. His Yin family had been looking forward to future generations to do so. There's again. Thinking of his previous words, Yin secretly regretted it. But who could have imagined such a situation? Over the years, even if the elders of the Yin family couldn't do it, who could imagine the younger generation with the opportunity to do so? Now he prays that he will be killed for the rest of his life. At that time, the Prince of Qin was said to be holding a tripod and wanted to continue going up and going on a magical journey to suppress the world. He had never seen that scene before, but for the rest of his life, it could never be better than the once invincible Prince of Qin. Behind the silence, there was a tower that stood still there, facing the rest of his life. Ding 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 refers not only to the demon ding ding, but also this tower. On top of the tower, the legacy of the previous dynasty also remains. At this time, a row of people came out of the tower. They should have sensed the change here, so they came here. The person who was headed was extraordinary and famous, but his handsome face showed a hint of arrogance. He was the representative of the Yin family's younger generation. I saw him walking here, glanced at the rest of his life, and then asked Yin in the heart, what happened, who is this person? Yin Mo saw his face change, and said, the rest of the heart. My entire life. Yin Yi turned his eyes, then thought of someone. It was said that Jiu Dongyu went to the Qin dynasty that day, and the cause was that he was injured by a Donghazong prince. Yin Zheng looked up and looked at the rest of his life, and saw that when he practiced with the magic tripod, at the same time he lifted the tripod slightly, and gradually, he approached a distance of 8 feet. That was what Prince Qin did all those years ago. The surrounding array is constantly being triggered, and the power of the magic tripod is madly released, and the surroundings are like the scene of the apocalypse. Finally, the rest of his life has actually reached a height of 8 feet, a vast space. At this time there are countless figures, all from afar, watching the rest of his life. The scene in front of him was shocking. He opened his mouth silently and stopped talking. Then he fell on Ye Fusion and said, in the previous dynasty, King Tianzi once lifted his leg and wanted to continue climbing. Mo Ding was suppressed, and now he has reached 8 feet, and it is too dangerous to continue to climb, so he can stop. Ye Fusion's eyes were silent. For the rest of his life, he remains at a height of 8 feet, still training, steadily, and slightly rising, and he can resonate with Mo Ding and use Mo Ding's strength to resist the suppression. So why stop? For the rest of her life, she really hoped to take Mo Ding away. Before that, he asked Yin Mo how he could take it. Yin Mo said he didn't know, really didn't know. The silence was not like this before. I hope they can hold the tripod and hope they are suppressed by the mood. Now they care about their lifelong safety, Thaksin. In this case, there is only one reason. All my life have had the opportunity to pick up a magic tripod, and I know deep down what the limit of a tripod is. Thinking of this, Ye Fusion laughed and said, he will have his share for the rest of his life. If he is really lucky to lift Mo Ding and take him away, then thank you Yin family. Take it away. Yin Ye heard Ye Fusion's words flashed and looked at Ye Fusion. The magic tripod belongs to my Yin family, but now it is open to the world. You can come and give the tripod. Who said you can take it? Ye Fusion frowned when he heard Yin Yan's words. Is this want to repent? I only know that someone from the Yin family has already said that if they can retrieve it, anyone on the scene will hear about it. Ye Fusion said weakly, trying so hard, even risking it. Now the Yin family is talking to. He said he was joking. How is that possible? Yin Yuan immediately understood. His eyes fell on Yin Mu's body. His eyes were cold. Yin Mo's face is very ugly. He looked at Ye Fusion and said, it was just a joke before. Can it be taken seriously? Who's joking with you? Ye Fusion glanced coldly at Yin Mo, who thought he couldn't see it before. It seemed that he relied on Mo Ding to kill them, and ironically encouraged them to restrain them. Now is this a joke? The people around me heard a touch of color from the conversations of several people. No, the rest of my life really took Mo Ding away. The Yin family now seems to want to repent. Of course, they can also see that when they promised secretly before, there was a certain arrogant attitude. Surely they didn't expect the current situation. Now, he looked a little panicked. Yin Yan looked very cold, looked at Yin Mu, and then looked at Ye Fusion, and said, Yin Mu is not qualified to represent the Yin family. Previously, I didn't want to take it seriously. As he spoke, the rest of his body was still rising, breaking through 8 feet, surpassing the Qin prince of the previous dynasty. Chapter 259, Not Going Up. When Ye Fusion heard Yin Yan's words, he stared at the rest of his life in the void, and he saw the Yin family's eyes. For the rest of his life, there was a high chance that Mo Ding would be taken away. Whether it is Yin Yun or Yin Mu, it is obviously a little nervous at this time, especially Yin Mu. Perhaps he had never thought about it before and would say casually, "Want to repent now?" As a member of the Yin family, he is here to guard the magic tripod, and can naturally represent the person who has won the Yin family. Ye Fusion did not go to see Yin Yun, his gaze was still fixed on the rest of his life. Such a treasure, since Yin said freely, how could he not take it? Moreover, this magic tripod is perfect for a lifetime. The rest of his life is at the center of the storm, as if he is in danger at any moment, so struggling, Yin Yun wants to say that Yin Mu can't represent the Yin family. I saw Yin Zun's footsteps walking forward, and soon the people behind him followed the footsteps towards the bottom of the magic tripod. Yin Zheng glanced at Ye Fusion, and he was not too afraid of the disciples in the hut. Even though the Yin family is low, it doesn't mean that its strength is not strong. As the leader of the previous dynasty, even if it had not fallen to this day, the Yin family still dominated Choge city. Moreover, they were now affiliated with the Qin dynasty, and with the current relationship between the Qin dynasty and the thatched cottage, he did not need to have any admiration for the students in the lodge. Yin Mo's inappropriate speech will be punished by the Yin family. However, as a person in the lodge, if you want to snatch my Yin family's treasure that has been passed down through generations and bully me, my Yin family can't agree to it either. Yin Eyes Yun looked at Ye Fusion, with a hint of indifference. Now that the magic tripod has risen quite high, it is time for him to stop, or else I will hurt the people in the cottage, and my Yin family can't stand it. He didn't have such problems before. Ye Fusion glanced at each other and said, "Therefore, I don't bother now." When the people who were far away saw the two standing opposite each other, they faintly felt dizzy, and they all realized that for the rest of their lives, they really had a chance to take the magic tripod. Of course, the Yin family couldn't sit down. "Shut up." Yin Zheng looked at Ye Fusion, but Ye Fusion didn't look at him, and continued to look up, staring at the blank figure. The pressure for the rest of his life had now reached a terrifying level. Endless dark ribbons running at him. Today, the magic tripod goes up very slowly, but it still goes up. Every time the magic tripod went up, it was enough to make the Yin family's spirits tense up. What they wanted to see at this moment was that the rest of their lives were killed just like the previous crown prince. That terrible storm was born in heaven and earth. The pattern on the magic tripod came alive, like a demon god. At this time, the rest of his life roared, and a magical light flowed on him. His body continued to move fiercely upwards, an inch, 2 inches. Gradually approaching a distance of 9 feet. The winds and clouds change, and the gods will come alive. The light of this magic circle in the heavens and the earth is bright, and even the light is aiming at the tower behind. At this time, a dazzling light is emitting from the tower, like the light of the 5 elements, the 5 colors of gold, wood, water, fire, and earth. Came, fell on the magic tripod. He heard only one voice coming out of the tower, "Let it go." This sound is like thunder, falling on the magic tripod, and the coercion on the magic tripod suddenly becomes stronger, as if it has a strong will to accompany the light of the 5 elements. There was a loud sound, and the magic tripod shook. The rest of the life vomited blood, and the body fell. The supreme power on the magic tripod was suppressed, and it was annihilated. Roar. A loud roar came out, and the rest of his life appeared like a demon phantom, rigidly supported, blocking the magic tripod without being directly crushed and killed on the spot. At this time, many people looked at the tower, whose voice was that. Even if someone hits at this time, is this the rest of his life? That scene was too thrilling. Now the rest of my life has been pressed back down to 3 feet. If the strength of my remaining life is terrible enough, I am afraid that he will be killed. Although the will contained in the voice is not very strong, but the rest of his life is competing with the power of the magic tripod, a little external force may be fatal. Is this the Yin family? According to common sense, the people in the Yin family should not dare to be so bold. After all, Dong Hazong did the same thing a while ago, but the prince was abolished, and the Yin family was affiliated with the Qin dynasty. However, he was not a top-tier power, and he dared to deceive the hut like this. Person. Not afraid of the consequences. Ye Fusion's face suddenly changed, he raised his head and looked at the tower, his eyes were very cold. Even if someone interfered at this time, the consequences would be fatal. His pupils were extremely cold and swept over Yin. At this moment, even Yin Yan's face changed slightly. He knew what was going on, but that wasn't what he wanted to see either. His body flashed, Ye Fusion stepped out, and Yin Ying was in front of him, and said, "Let him stop, this is not my Yin family deliberately in the tower, I am sorry for that." Go out. Ye Fuxian glanced coldly at Yin Yan, before Yin promised to deny it, but wasn't his Yin family intentional? He had to see who was in the tower. Ye Fuxian continued towards the tower, Ye Wuchen followed, and Liu Feiyang and Liu Shenyu stepped forward and looked at Yin Yan and others. His body flashed, Ye Fuxian walked in the air and headed straight for the tower, but at this moment, there were two figures standing on the roof of the tower, one male and one female. The male Yushu was blown away, and the peerless son and daughter were beautiful. Incomparable, extraordinary. Many of these two saw a touch of color. Qian Shenmu, King Mengruo. The two figures that appeared were actually called Qian Shenmu, the first person of the younger generation, and King Mengruo, the princess of the Qin dynasty. The protagonist, who is about to hold a big wedding in Choge City, appears here in Dinglu, and it is clear that the Yin family brought them. However, the shot just now should not be Qian Shenmu, there is still a mystery hidden in the tower. Ye Fuxian physically came to the tower, Qian Shenmu and King Mengruo were just blocked there, behind them was the entrance to the tower. Go. Ye Fuxian glanced at Qian Shenmu and King Mengruo. King Mengruo frowned, and there was a sense of coldness and arrogance in her beautiful eyes. Ye Fuxian dared to speak like this. This is the ancestral land of the Yin family. It is inappropriate for you to come here. Dusk Qian Shan looked calm and said softly. Ye Fuxian did not bother, the legal phase was released and the sun and moon appeared together. Qian Shenmu frowned, and said, You are not my opponent now. Above Ye Fuxianfa, the rays of the sun and moon shone towards Qian Shenmu and King Mengruo. Qian Shenmu took out a bamboo flute and played it live. A frantic mental storm bloomed in an instant, covering the space. The sound was sharp and loud, and fell directly on the water and fire spells that were killed. Ye Fuxian stepped out at a very fast speed. His body looked like a terrifying body of flames. An ancient character was released and burned towards Qian Shenmu's body. At the same time, he raised his hand and took out a palm print to burn everything. The sound played by the twilight Qian Shan seemed to turn into a sharp sword, destroying the ancient character, and at the same time, the terrifying mental storm turned into an endless arrow, and the aura of heaven and earth dissipated. It was golden, with a rhythm-stimulating spell, shooting towards Ye Fuxian. Boom, boom, boom. The violent power broke out, and the arrows burned a lot, but the palms were smashed. Ye Fuxian's body receded like a gust of wind, and the meaning of the ice above the far face was madly released. It was endless, the arrows it condensed into a freeze in the void, and they continued to fall. This is amazing. This is indeed a cottage disciple, but compared to Qian Shanmu, Ye Fuxian still has a gap. Everyone quietly said, but Ye Fuxian didn't mean to give up at all, and continued to move forward. His breathing was still getting more violent. Almost at the same time, a sword shadow appeared. Ye Wuchen shot, the sword was cold, and hit Qian Shenmu and King Mengruo. You come in. Ye Wuchen said. His sword was blocked by Qian Shenmu, but the next moment, Qian Shenmu and King Mengruo were in the world of his sword. Their eyes and pupils seemed to see a very terrible sword attack, kill directly on them. The sound of Qian Shenmu's flute was even louder, because there were countless spiritual arrows piercing into Ye Wuchen's mind, but in the same way, his spiritual sword also stabbed into the opponent's mind, and at the same time, his sword arrived. One sword was cut, Wang Jiansheng swept everything away. Qian Shenmu and King Mengruo's bodies had to go to both sides and be forced back. Who's he? Someone saw Ye Wuchen open his mouth. Ye Wuchen, a person from the Kangye kingdom, became famous in Yehang with Ye Wuchen, and was accepted as a disciple by Fuyun Janzong. It was said that Ye Wuchen had become so strong that he could force Qianshan into the twilight of return. Ye Fuxian's figure flashed, approached the limit, and rushed straight to the tower. There is also a door in the tower. There was a strong person outside the door guarding him. It was a strong person from the Yin family, and his state was quite high. He glanced indifferently at Ye Fuxian and stopped in front. Ye Fuxian looked inside, his eyes were very cold. Let him give up. The two indifferent openings in front of them, their breath is actually the prince, and the person guarding the tower is actually the figure of the prince. This is not a long lesson. A voice came from outside, and saw the aftershocks descend rapidly, rushing into the tower. It was Luo Fan. He glanced at the two princely figures, said, Qin dynasty, the thing is, forget it. The two prince figures frowned. Although they were guarded here, they knew the news from the outside world and heard about the Qin dynasty. Don't you let your Kotang disciples conquer the Yin family's primeval treasures. The prince of the Yin family said coldly. Luo Fan stepped forward, and the burning stick in his hand instantly turned red, and a fire whip was born, dancing wildly on the tower. Chapter 260, Eliminating. Luofan doesn't make sense, this is the second time. Dong Hazong has done it once last time, and now dares to bully the thatched hut. The dragon whip rolled, and there seemed to be a fire dragon in the void, swept towards the two princes. The two of them were rough in breath, and retreated from both sides, but they did not dare to release too much force, afraid that the entire tower would collapse. Seeing the gap, Ye Fusion blinked towards the front and stepped into the door. You're reckless. The two princes wanted to stop, but saw the dragon whip beat the void, and the void seemed to be cut into two pieces by the fire dragon whip, and they didn't dare to refuse. At this time, outside the tower, many strong people came, and the strong people of the Qin dynasty, Dong Hazong, and Yin family arrived one after another and wanted to enter the tower. On the roof of the tower, there was a quiet figure standing there, Zuai, the disciple of the fourth lodge, with tens of thousands of courtyards floating around his body, flooding the void and blocking everyone out. Is the hut too much? The strong man Yin said coldly, looking at Zuai. Announcing one thing, although the rest of my life has not officially become a lodge disciple, but the status is the same as a cottage disciple, the Yin family must pray that he is fine now, otherwise, there will be no Yin family in the eastern lands. Zhu Ye looked at the powerful Yin family, he said quietly, as if he was talking about something very unusual. Are you kidding? A strong man from the Qin dynasty said coldly, and the Yin family was a subsidiary of the Qin dynasty. Readers are honest people, no kidding, Zhu Ye said. Yin Jiqiang's face is very embarrassing, and the disciples of Kotang always say that they can do it, even if they face the prince of Dong Hazong, saying that they will be in vain. In fact, the Yin family members naturally don't dare to deal with the rest of their lives like that, otherwise the rest of their lives will be a disaster for the Yin family, but the person who just shot is not the current Yin family, but someone in the tower. Readers also like to rob. Dong Hazong asked the strong man. I can testify that the Yin family proactively said that Kotang disciples can take a magical journey, please. Liu Feyang said with a smile, not only me, but many people present should have heard this sentence. Yin Jiqiang's eyes were very cold, and he looked at the silent Yin, but at this time Yin Mu's body trembled, apparently knowing that he had no intention of speaking, but he was in great trouble. My Yin family is undisciplined, said Yin's old man. Just one sentence that isn't strict. Zhu Ye smiled, also, I almost killed my Kotang disciple. The thatched hut took the treasure of the Yin family, but it was so easy and powerful that it was too deceiving. In the void, a strong man came, but the ancestor of the Yin family arrived personally. He was so scared like a beast. In general, a burly body possessed extremely formidable strength. The three brothers said that Kotang's disciples were reasonable, but because they met unreasonable people, they had to use their fists. Zhu Ye looked at the ancestor of the Yin family, and his voice suddenly became strong, and said, just bullying you, what about the Yin family? Ouch. The ancestor of the Yin family took a step forward, the momentum was overwhelming. How dare you try? At this time, a cold voice came, many people looked and saw a cold and proud woman standing there. This beautiful woman had a cold and arrogant temperament and a straight body. Behind him, there were many strong men. Academy Mountain Captain. Someone knows his identity, Juching Academy Mountain Captain. This time the people from the academy were not only thatched huts, but also two great academies descended. Shan was already second only to the dean, naturally they didn't know when and what to do like ordinary students in the academy. At this time, another strong man stepped forward, a very sharp temperament figure, carrying a knife behind his back, was the strong of the sacred mountain of the sword. After the last incident of the Qin dynasty, Supreme Master ordered it. If anyone bullied his younger brother in the thatched hut, the consequences would be arrogant. The man said lightly, and the atmosphere was tense for a while. The Qin dynasty and Dong Hazong merged and naturally became a superpower in the eastern wasteland. However, the power of the huts, academies, and the sacred mountain of the sword is no joke. The war is really about to break out. I am afraid that the entire eastern famine will set off a bloody storm. As for the Yin family, although it has a strong power in Choge city, it is really not enough to see it. The footsteps of the Yin ancestors stopped there, and the atmosphere was tense. The people of the main force had arrived, and seeing the scene revealed a strange color. What happened today was somewhat similar to the Qin dynasty. However, the last time the lodge students were isolated and helpless, only after Jiu Dong flowed down the mountain to settle down. This time was different. After the last incident, Dao Sheng made a direct statement and ordered to continue, so Dao Shan stood up today. And this time, there was the academy. The 9 mountains in the academy, in addition to the Dean Head Mountain and the Straw Hut, have 7 mountains, and the 7 mountain heads. The situation suddenly froze here. All my life still holding a tripod. Once again, it is still violent, the magic tripod is roaring, the sky is dark, and the two sides are facing each other there, the atmosphere here seems to be very suppressed. At this point, in the tower, Ye Fuxian stepped into the hall in the tower. The majestic hall was strange, and his gaze was staring straight ahead. There is a magic circle, among the magic circles engendered by an incomparable pattern, there is an illusory figure, but an old man. Ye Fuxian knew that when he was attacked for the rest of his life, it was a will attack. Now when he saw this scene, he understood that this illusory figure was a Yin family character in the previous dynasty. Around the circle, there are 5 rods, and the 5 colored lights flowing on them symbolize the 5 elements. The circle is connected by these 5 illusory rods, constantly turning, and rotating from time to time, absorbing the power of the 5 elements of heaven and earth. The old man's eyes stared at Ye Fuxian, his face was cold, and he sensed the outside situation naturally, he shot towards the person who stepped up the journey, which seemed to cause a lot of trouble for the Yin family, which he didn't expect. He is immortalized here, and although he knows a little about the outside world, he doesn't know much about it. Of course, what happened to the Qin dynasty is not clear to him. Today, the descendants of the Yin family came here with the 2 peerless prides of the Qin dynasty and Dong Hazong. Listening to the ancient words, he taught a lesson to both, and then what happened next? Yin family ancestor. Ye Fuxian glanced at the other side, his eyes indifferent. The other party's punch almost made Mo Ding kill the rest of his life on the spot. He stepped forward and walked forward. Junior, this is not where you came from, get out, the illusory figure said lightly. This wand is good, can you give it to me? Ye Fuxian approached the line, stretched out his hand, held one of the sticks standing there, and exerted a little force, trying to pull it out. Boom! An invisible violent aura descended, covering his body and oppressing his body. The illusory figure arrogantly said, do you think I don't dare to kill you? What happened outside? The seniors also saw what happened to me. The Yin family will be buried. Ye Fuxian smiled, as if he didn't care, and kept trying hard to let go of the stick. The illusory figure has a bad face, if a long stick is taken, the magic circle will collapse, and it will be difficult for him to maintain it. Are all the juniors today so presumptuous? He looked at Ye Fuxian, and instantly, turned into a desire of terror, oppressed Ye Fuxian. At this moment, Ye Fuxian only felt that he was dealing with the figure of a top prince, that coercion, trying to destroy his will. You go alone, or should I send you? That indifferent voice flashed in Ye Fuxian's mind, as if an illusory figure had rushed into his mind. Idiots. Ye Fuxian showed an ironic smile, and then, the fire and fire will exploded at the same time, instantly covering the opponent's illusory will. Ye Fuxian was waiting for the opponent's will to attack. If the real true prince will, he can't mess it up, but the rest also want to oppress him. I can't help it. The other side spoke coldly, and let the will of water and fire descend upon him. Is that true? The two communicated with each other through their minds. Above Ye Fuxian's body, there is an incomparable brilliance, just like the light of an emperor. Became an ancient word. Fire, fire, crickets. Every ancient character seems to contain the mark of the emperor. The illusory figure takes a breath, only to feel that the will of the will is burned. At the same time, the ice will be covered again, enough to freeze and kill people's desires. Under the will of water and fire, the illusion will scream and scream, go. The ghost became very cruel, trying to escape from the shackles. You really can die. Ye Fuxian's voice was cold, his opponent's will was eroded slightly, the center of the magic circle, the old man's figure shook violently, and became unreal. Save me. He shouted at the outside world. Outside the tower, many people trembled, especially the strong in the Yin family. Down. Ancestor Yin sighed angrily and stepped forward. The spell of the snowy night broke almost simultaneously, the dragon whip was thrown at the same time, and the figures of the two princes were driven out. Show up here. Seeing Luo Fan appear, many people were stunned, even the snowy knight looked strange, and said, isn't it you? It seems that little master can solve it on his own. Luo Fan said. Fast. The cry for help in the tower came out again, and during the formation, the body became more and more illusory, and gradually turned into nothingness, until it completely disappeared. Ye Fuxian glanced indifferently in front of him, and the magic array gradually extinguished. The 5 illustrious wands around the magic array turned into light, and then flew to the same place.